Hi everybody, hope you're all well. It's Classic 80's fanboy here. I'm hoping this video won't go on for too long, but just for something a little bit different tonight, all I want to do is to go through some DVDs with you. Now these DVDs are on a theme. They're all sci-fi themed, and they're sci-fi shows from the 70s and 80s. So I've got my notes down here, and what I'll do is I'll show you the DVDs. Hopefully when my editing skills become better, I'll shove some photographs in there so you can see what it's all about. But all I'll basically do is to show you the covers and just give you a quick talk through of each series, okay? Alright, here we go. So the first one on my list is this. You can see that. I'll bring it up closer. It's probably written backwards. It's Blake 7. Okay, so to show them in time, that's the first one with Gareth Edwards on the front, on the side. Over here. Second one. Jacqueline Pierce. Yeah. Third. Paul Darrow. And lastly, Series 4. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis for each of the series that I've chosen. Okay, so Blake 7 came out in 1978. It was 4 series with 13 episodes in each series. It was done by the BBC and it was written by Terry Nation. And if you don't know who Terry Nation is, I'll show you one of the things he created. He didn't create the design, but he certainly wrote about them. It's the Daleks. Yes, Terry Nation was the one that wrote the Daleks. He did, as I say, he didn't do the design. That was done by a guy named Ray Cusack, but he wrote about the Daleks. Right, the story of Blake 7 evolves all around a character called Ros Blake, played by an actor called Gareth Thomas, who sadly isn't with us now. Now, the synopsis of the story is that Ros Blake is a political dissident and a protagonist, and he's falsely accused of a heinous crime. He then escapes prison and goes on the run from the evil forces called the Federation. Now, as I said to you at the beginning, Ros Blake is played by the actor Gareth Thomas. You have another character, which is Avon, who's that character there. He's played by Paul Darrow, who's a computer specialist. So while Ros Blake ends up in prison, he teams up with Kerr Avon to help escape. So Kerr Avon is a computer scientist, so because he's a computer specialist, he helps Ros Blake escape. Then you have Servalan, which is a character played by Jacqueline Pierce, who's the Supreme Commander of the Federation, who later on becomes the President of the Federation. And yeah, that was my first one. As I said, it ran from 1978 and finished, the last episode was in 1981. And I'd recommend it as a good watch. You know, if you like Doctor Who, that's definitely a series you should be looking into. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's good British science fiction. Okay, you don't get that much around now. Good British science fiction. The next one I'm going to look at is the next two series. I suppose they're going to be American. Okay, just to break it up a little bit. So the next one we're going to look at is this. I don't know if you can see that. It's the letterings back to front. And it is one of my favourite American sci-fi shows, and that's Battlestar Galactica. Right, Battlestar Galactica started off in 1978 and finished in 1979. So it was only a year on telly for an American sci-fi show. But it lasted 24 episodes and is created by a guy named Glenn A. Larson. And the synopsis of this one is 12 colonies of humankind coming to the end of a 1,000-year war with a warrior robot race called the Cylons. And they were created by a reptilian race that expired years previously. So this war had been going on for 1,000 years. The robots were created by a reptile race who eventually died out and left the robot race to fend for themselves, but they did so. The Cylons then turn on the colonies and attack their homeworlds before turning towards their military fleet, wiping all but one Battlestar Galactica. And that's commanded by a commander called William Adama. Adama then gathered a ragtag fugitive fleet of 220 ships made up from the remnants of the 12 colonies to find the long-lost 13th colony tribe of humanity that has settled on a planet called Earth. So that's another one of my favourite American TV science fiction shows. The main character, or the main commander, Adama, was played by an actor called Lorne Greene. Captain Apollo, who is Commander Adama's son, is played by Richard Hatch, was played by Richard Hatch. And his friend was called Lieutenant Starbuck. And Starbuck was played by an actor called Dirk Benedict, who, if you didn't know, played Face in the A-Team in the 80s. We'll go on to talk about the other 80s, my other favourite 80s DVDs on another video. This is just concentrating on science fiction. John Colicos plays a character named Baltar, who is human, but works alongside the Cylons to try and defeat the 12 colonies. Jane Seymour had a starring role in the show, and Anne Lockhart had a starring role as well, and she played the character of Sheba. So that's Battlestar Galactica. They did relaunch it after, I think it was 1979, and they created this one. It was a one-off series called Galactica 1980. And it was made in 1980, but it was to round off the series itself. And that's another one of my favourite ones. Right, the next one is this one. As you can see, I know it's back to front again. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Now, Buck Rogers was created in 1979 and lasted till 1980, but it lasted for 2 seasons. It was created again by Glenn A. Larson, Philip Francis Newland, and Leslie Stevens. And I'll give you the basic synopsis for this one. The NASA astronaut William Buck Rogers meets with a freak accident whilst on board Space Shuttle Ranger 3, which freezes him for over 504 years. He's reawakened when his shuttle is captured by Princess Adala during a supposed peace convoy to Earth. The series revolves around Buck, played by an actor called Gil Gerard, trying to adapt to new Earth surroundings. He's aided by Colonel Wilma Deering, and that's played by the lovely Erin Gray, who at the time was a model. He's also aided by the head of Earth's Directorate, called Dr. Elias Cure, played by Tim O'Connor. And he had a co-companion throughout the show, a little robot. If you haven't already seen it, you really should. The little robot's name is Tweaky, and it was played by a short person called Felix Silla, who was also actually voiced by Mel Blanc. And if you don't know who Mel Blanc was, he was a very famous voice artist in the 60s, 70s and 80s. And one of his main characters was Daffy Duck. Sorry about that, a bit of a cough there. So I'll come on to my last favourite 80s, 70s, 80s series. And it's actually British. So we've gone from British to American. Now we're back to British again. This is the last one. Right, that was, as you can see, Sapphire and Steel. And this is a synopsis for this one. It was created in 1979, so there's a bit of a theme running through all these series. There's the late 70s, really late 70s when they first came out, and they stopped in the early 80s. So this one started in 1979, but actually finished in 1982. It was the last episode. There, just like Doctor Who, it was broken down into mini episodes. Okay, so there were 34 episodes, and they covered 6 adventures. So this was created by a man named PJ Hammond. Okay, so this deals with interdimensional operatives by the name of Sapphire and Steel. Sapphire was played by the lovely Joanna Lumley, and Steel was played by David McCallum. Okay, so this is a synopsis for this one. Sent by unknown forces to investigate breaks in time, otherwise known as time fractures, and intervene where necessary to fix the breaks. So between the pair of them, they're both intelligent. They use their guile and their wit to defeat the time breaks, or the time breakers. So they both have interesting powers. Sapphire has the ability to take time back and reverse it in some cases. So she's able to, when you see her and the camera's facing her, her eyes turn sapphire blue, and she's able to take time back. And Steel, however, can actually freeze himself, so he can freeze time if he wants to, and he's able to lower his body temperature to such an extent it can actually kill ghosts. Where he freezes his body, he can get in a freezer. Right, his first adventure, he gets into a long freezer and lowers his body temperature so low that it's able to kill ghosts. So those adventures, the 6 adventures that they do together, are quite akin to the 70s era of Doctor Who. So if you were a kid at that time, I don't know how you felt, but I felt quite frightened watching Doctor Who. I used to hate the Daleks. I used to not hide behind so I wouldn't say I'd hide behind the sofa. As that old cliche, everybody says they used to hide behind the sofa. For those who were scared of Doctor Who, but I didn't. I used to go out of my living room door and just peer through the little gap. I never used to hide behind the sofa. I was quite a big child. I'd never get behind the sofa. So what I used to do is run out the door and just peer it through the gap, especially when the Daleks came on. But these adventures, it was shown on ITV then, independent television. It was on Channel 3. And yeah, another one of the good, solid British sci-fi. So what I would say to all of these that I've watched, I'd recommend getting them on DVD and giving a look out. Even some of the adventures of Sapphire Still can be found on YouTube. So check them out, because you might enjoy them. And if, like me, you start watching them and get to enjoy them, you'd be able to get them on DVD as well, because they are available. They can be found on eBay, and a good price as well. Okay, so that's it for now. My next video I'll put out will detail the American TV shows based on Earth. These came out in the early 80s, and they're my favourite American TV shows that are not sci-fi based. Okay, so whatever's going on in this world, take care of yourselves, look after each other, shield if you need to, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.